Today we're finally going to be making a video that I have considered making for a very long time, but I've just never actually done it, partly because of laziness, partly because of, I don't know, embarrassment or being scared or whatever, but also partly because a lot of work and thought and stuff went into making a video like this. Today we're going to be talking about this item right here, the Paris 2023 capsules, and how, this was truly one of the biggest mistakes of my investing life, whether that be in stocks, crypto, or CS or whatever. We're also going to be talking about multiple of the different mistakes that I've made along the way, and hopefully how I'm going to be trying to remedying these mistakes, not only by learning from them, but also by making some changes going in the future to try and make some of the money that I lost in Paris back. So this should be a pretty interesting video, all about my Paris investments and the history and how we got here and all that good stuff. But of course, first, just want to mention my cash trading business. If you guys are looking to sell any of your CS2 items, turn them into cold hard cash, crypto, or any other payment method, definitely hit me up over on Twitter. It's going to be the first link in the description below. You guys know it very, very well by now, but we like to get the big deals done. So if you're looking to sell any of your knives, gloves, expensive skins, bolt cases, maybe even your entire inventory, whatever, hit me up and we can definitely get a deal done safely, effectively, and efficiently for you. You don't have to worry about getting scammed or any of that crazy stuff. And of course, you're helping support me, my channel, my content, which I would appreciate a ton. With that being said, let's get right into this video today. So when I say that I made a big mistake, there are so many different mistakes that I've potentially made along the lines, and depending on who you are, you're going to think different things about this whole thing, but I need to explain to you guys first what even happened or what I even did. I believe I have a video pulled up here. We can zoom all the way back to October 10th of 2023. This is around the time where I finished my Paris investment, and I posted this video called My Entire Paris Portfolio Revealed, and in this video, you can see a ton of Paris capsules on the screen, and that is because I spent $10,000 on Paris in total. Now, I'm not alone in this. Obviously, this was a horrible investment, a terrible decision, and this was potentially mistake number one, was just deciding to invest in Paris in the first place at the very beginning. Again, I was investing right around when the Paris sale started to right around when the Paris sale ended, and obviously, I wasn't able to invest $10,000 instantly, but I was saving up over a period of months. I was taking a little bit out of every paycheck, and usually I take a little bit out of my paycheck. I invest into crypto, or I invest into stocks that I like, or I invest into ETFs or whatever. But during these couple months in 2023, I was making a decent amount of money. I live pretty cheap overall, so I usually have some side cash every month, and I was putting that side cash into Paris, and eventually that side cash ended up being $10,000. I wanted to get to a nice round number. I wanted to get to a nice number that would make a good YouTube video or a good thumbnail or whatever, and I also wanted to get to a nice mental milestone of, hey, I'm going to try to get to 10,000. I'm going to stop. And usually when I set goals, I tend to follow through with them. I tend to do everything in my power to reach them, whatever, and I did that. I got to $10,000 total in Paris investments. Now, I don't know if it was exactly 10,000 in Paris, because I also put some of that money into Stockholm and Antwerp stuff, which I was also very, very excited about at this time. But in general, it ended up being about $5,000 into capsules and about $5,000 into Paris stickers as well. So that's where we were at. And obviously, that could have been mistake number one. Also, another mistake along the line was maybe continuing to invest in Paris. Obviously, you had like my initial investment in Paris, maybe $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, whatever, was maybe mistake number one. And maybe mistake number two was continuing to invest in Paris, even as the Paris sale continued on for a record length amount of time, and as also we saw the hype continue to go and go and go. But honestly, generally in life, I don't have too many regrets, and honestly, this was not really a regret of mine either, even to this day. Obviously, it ended up being a bad investment, but just because something didn't work out doesn't mean necessarily it was the worst decision in the world, and definitely doesn't mean it's necessarily something you should regret, because at the time, the information I had was, one, I was extremely new to CS2 investing. Again, I started this YouTube channel in like June of 2023, I think, maybe May of 2023, maybe April at the absolute earliest. So I was only a couple months into CS investing at all. I had just returned to CS, at the time around the CS2 hype, like many other people had and everything. So I didn't know all about the markets. I didn't know what necessarily made a good CS2 investment. I didn't know necessarily, about all the different supplies and demands and how much supply is too much and all that stuff. I was trying to learn as I went, and I do like to learn stuff by doing it. And honestly, to become a successful anything, but especially successful investor or successful person in the space, you have to try some stuff. You have to learn some stuff. You have to get hands-on. It's a lot easier to talk from the outside and talk about hypothetical investments or what you would do or whatever. But when you actually have your own money on the line, you're going to do different things and you're going to learn different things. And obviously, I learned from this as well. But not only that, Paris was a huge part for my YouTube channel, getting my YouTube channel off the ground. And honestly, the YouTube channel that we have going right now, it's one of my favorite things in my whole life. I think it's really fun. It's awesome. It's exciting. I'm, making money. I'm growing this channel. I'm getting to cash trade business off of this. I'm getting sponsorships. I'm getting to talk to people. people. I'm getting to, talk about CS investing and CS items and stuff, which I think is so cool. And it's also helping build my collection and my portfolios and my investments and all that cool stuff. And honestly, Paris helped me get off the ground because Paris was the biggest topic in the CS2 investing world at this time. And you can see here, even this video got 2,200 views. Me talking about my entire Paris portfolio got 141 likes. That is massive because, now my channel gets like 2, 3, 4,000 views per video. But back then, 2023, a couple months after my channel had started, we weren't getting 2,200 views per video. This was a really, really big video for me at this time. And it definitely helped, catapult my trajectory and everything like that. Now, talking about Paris didn't necessarily mean I needed to drop money on Paris. Didn't necessarily mean I needed to make this horrible investment, but whatever. But obviously, these were the first couple of mistakes. Now, the next couple of mistakes were, not only seeing how much Paris supply was created, not only seeing how long the Paris sale went on, but the next couple of mistakes were continuing to hold Paris even after Copenhagen stickers were announced and they were borderless, and then that sale went on forever. The next big mistake was seeing Shanghai stickers were borderless and seeing that sale went on forever, still even continuing to hold Paris, because that's another thing is that I learned from this whole thing, and I already knew this, but it's still hard to necessarily go with this, because at the time I'm like, hey, I invested an amount of money that I could afford to lose. I invested an amount of money that I was comfortable with. It might seem like a big amount of money to some people, might seem like no money to whatever, but I was totally fine with losing all this and letting it ride or whatever. So I was like, hey, I'm going to sit my Paris capsules in a storage unit. I'm going to hold them for 10 or 15 years or however long it takes. And part of that was being stubborn, but also part of that was just having my investment strategy of being setting it and forgetting it. And that is something that, I always do. That's something I go for because I don't want to be trading in and out. I don't want to be over trading. I don't want to, be paying a bunch of fees for buying and selling. I don't want to be trying to time the market and stuff like that. I want to buy the things that I think are the best stuff at the time and holding it until, I make a bunch of money. And sometimes it takes a couple of years, sometimes it takes a couple of months, whatever. But at the time, the information I had was that every major sticker previously was extremely profitable. I thought there's no reason Paris won't be. Borderless stickers were really hot. People were excited. I thought CS2 was going to bring a whole new ton of players in. I thought borderless stickers were going to get a ton of new they're going to have a ton of applicability and crafting and all that stuff, and obviously it went insanely wrong. But I didn't know that stuff at the time. I didn't know that CS2 the release of CS2 was going to be an absolute disaster. I didn't know that borderless stickers were going to keep being created, because I thought, hey, they're probably going to go with bordered stickers at some point in the future as well. But again, I continue to hold these, and that was a mistake because opportunity cost is a big thing. And as fundamentals change, you need to rethink investments. And sometimes, even though I want to be a set it and forget it investor, even a set it and forget it investor does need to move things around sometimes as the fundamentals change. And once Copenhagen came out as borderless, the fundamentals for Paris definitely changed. And once Shanghai came out as borderless, the fundamentals changed once again. And there were opportunities to get out. And, I knew that borderless stickers weren't necessarily the best investment anymore because I didn't continue to buy the dip. I didn't continue to invest in borderless stickers. I started buying other stuff like patches or cases or trade up fodder or whatever. And if I thought those were the best investments at the time, why am I still holding on to Paris if I don't even necessarily think they're the best investment? So that was maybe another mistake that I made, or definitely another mistake that I made, was continuing to hold and not wanting to sell, because I didn't want to be the guy that buys high and sells low. I didn't want to be that embarrassment. I didn't want to be whatever, but people overuse that buy high, sell low meme, and people overutilize, what that even means, because it is absolutely okay to buy high and sell low. When fundamentals change, when things change, when you learn new information, when you become better, it is okay to reallocate your portfolio, and people do that all the time. The best investors in the world, Warren Buffett, whatever your favorite investor is, he probably changes stuff on a quarterly basis, on a yearly basis, on a 5-year basis, whatever. They don't just buy one thing and hold it forever. They change things around. The world changes, fundamentals change, numbers change, statistics change, player bases change, all of that stuff. And again, the fundamentals, the numbers, stuff just definitely changed with borderless stickers, and Valve, went into borderless sticker printing mode. And there was just so many borderless stickers out there. It was so clear that it was going to be years and years and years, if not ever, before Paris ever became profitable. So this thing was truly an absolute disaster. So that led to me very, very recently, over the past couple months, finally deciding to offload my Paris investment. And one reason I decided to do this was because I finally found a new place that I wanted to put this money. And hey, Paris has been a disaster. Like I said, I think overall on most of the Paris investments, I'm down about 65%. So I think overall we've turned $10,000 into about $3,500, which is a disaster. That's horrible. That's whatever. I get it. But the great thing about CS investing is sometimes the market can go absolutely crazy. You really have, once in a lifetime returns all the time in CS. So you have a chance to, even if you have made some mistakes, even if you've lost a ton of money, whatever, you have a chance to turn it around. And my play for potentially turning this around right now, you can see that I am I'm selling these Paris stickers again. I have a ton of Paris Legend stickers listed at 10 cents. I'm trying to sell them all. This sucks. Getting them all out of storage units, trying to list them all. You actually have to confirm each one like individually, one by one. It's a pain in the ass. It takes forever, and that's why it's taken me months and months and months to do this, because I have to have the patience and the desire and everything to actually sit down and like actually sell them one by one. And then you have to wait for them to sell. But yeah, most of these I am selling at 10 cents. Some of the different ones I'm selling at 9 cents. So I'm getting like 8 or 7 cents back for many of these. And the reason that I'm buying or selling these on Steam is, one, because I'm trying to sell thousands of capsules. I think I ended up buying like 20,000 capsules or something ridiculous. And I think my cost basis ended up being around 22 cents for them overall, throughout the wholesale when I was buying at different prices and stuff like that. But yeah, the reason I'm going for Steam balance of this is because I'm trying to sell thousands of these, and the only way to have enough volume is through Steam. CS Float, it would take like probably years to sell them all and something like that. But I also want, the thing I'm going to be wanting to buy, the only way I could buy this stuff is through Steam as well, just because of the volumes and everything. And what I'm doing is I'm switching my Paris investment, and this might be the last mistake that I'm making, depending on who you ask as well. I am reallocating these funds, what money I have left from Paris, which, like I said, I think is like $3,000, $3,500, $4,000, somewhere in there by the time that everything sells. Reallocating those funds and trying to make the money back, and hopefully more. I hope this goes well through Armory items. I am reallocating this money into Sport and Field Collection trade-up skins. I might end up buying an M4 Fade. I might end up buying some of the pinks, a Rainbow Spoon or an Axie or something like that. I might end up buying some of the purples, but mostly I'm funneling this money into the industrial grade Sport and Field Collection skins. I'm mostly putting these into the FAMAS half sleeve and field tested right now. I'm getting them for, I don't know what they go for, like 15, 14 cents, something like that. So I'm going to end up buying a lot of these as well. I'm switching a lot of Paris capsules for a lot of these skins. I'm going to end up with a ridiculous amount of them, which is ultimately at the end of the day why it might be better to buy some of these a little bit more expensive things as well, just because it's going to be easier to actually get this money into this stuff. But I think these Sport and Field collection skins, if and when the Sport and Field collection goes discontinued, are going to go really crazy. I think the M4 Fade is always going to be a very, very desirable M4 skin. I think it's one of the better M4 skins in the entire game, and I do think this will eventually be a discontinued collection. And we've seen time and time again that all discontinued collections, especially the highly desirable ones, the trade-up fodder for them just goes absolutely crazy. You're talking like major, major, major returns. And right now, even the Armory skins are on a little bit of a crash right now, since the Fever case came out and the new Train collection came out. Things are dipping down, so it's even a better time to buy. I'm also going to be throwing some of the money, a smaller percentage, maybe I'll be going like 75%, 25%, with 25% of the money going into the Overpass collection as well, because I am a little bit worried about the Overpass collection, since I do think they'll eventually get souvenir skins. But from the data that I've looked, and I think I'll talk about this in a future video as well, the data that I've looked at, even the trade-up skins in the souvenir, like the collections that do eventually get souvenirs, they still end up doing very, very well. So some of the money will also be going into these Overpass collection trade-ups as well. Now, obviously, these things will do way better once they actually get discontinued, if and when it actually happens. Part of me thinks I should maybe wait for that confirmation and stuff like that. But either way, I want to start selling my Paris stuff now to start gathering up that money. I have started buying some of these trade-up skins as well, but I think I'm also going to wait a little bit too to actually see, if and when these things are going to be discontinued. But if these things do get discontinued, I think these trade-up skins could be something that honestly gets all of my money that I lost from Paris back and more. But then honestly, that's not the goal at the end of the day. I don't want to chase losses. I don't want to go for unrealistic expectations. I just want to buy the best things that I think are out in the market. And right now, I think the two best investments you can make in CS2 are cases, rare cases, discontinued cases, whatever, and trade-up skins. So I have a lot of money in cases already. I'm going to continue to pile my own, personal funds and money that I make off YouTube and cash trading and everything into cases. But I think I want to use this Paris money to I'm going to have, a wad of cash from selling all my Paris capsules and use them on trade-up skins as well. Now, maybe I should buy some other collections and stuff like that, but some of the money I want to be going into the Armory as well, because the Armory has some of the cheapest trade-up skins that I think will eventually become discontinued on the market right now. So I made a massive, massive, massive mistake by investing in Paris. I lost thousands of dollars, but I have learned from it. I've grown a YouTube channel and community from it, and hopefully we've learned from it, and we're going to make a better investment going forward in the future. Now, we'll have to wait and see. Or maybe I'm making yet another mistake. You're going to have to stay tuned to find out. But that's pretty much it for this video today, guys. Hope I catch the next one. Until then, peace.